Hello once again, Internet, and welcome back to Slot It In There, that lovely, now weekly technology show where we cover a bit of tech and a bit of retro gaming, old tech, new tech. I don't really know if we covered new tech yet, but definitely old tech. Anyway, some tech. I hope you enjoy it. On this brilliant journey, as always, I have two members of this technology cruise ship that we're going on in the distance. And I'm not going to introduce them one at a time this time. We're just going to do everyone and go, it's Damien and Tim.
Hello.
No.
It's all brilliant, isn't it?
Oh, we should have done it like Mexican wave.
We could do
Mexican wave. But we'll ask you one at a time. We'll go to Tim this time. Tim, how are you? You all right?
I'm very good, thanks. I've been having a very a busy work-related week, but other than that, yeah, a bit of gaming, bit of bidding on eBay, seeing if I can't get hold of a computer, which I actually won that little auction this evening. So I've got a broken computer coming my way, and we can have a bit of a play with that and see if we can't diagnose it, fix it up, and make it work.
Sounds good. Sounds lovely and fun. Brilliant. And Damien, how are you this week?
Oh, I'm bloody marvelous. Don't know why I've just turned Cornish, but yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Been playing some God of War on the PC. Bloody good game. Really like it. So yeah, other than that, happy as normal.
Jolly good. Which God of War were you playing? Is it the 2018 one?
It's the remastered one for the PC. So I think that is based off the 2018 version. So
yeah,
good. Very good port. Very good.
Jolly good. Yeah, because PCs nowadays, well, I say recently, depends when we put it out, they've had some terrible ports of games, especially PlayStation games, I think, haven't they, recently?
The Last of Us was not particularly great, but
there you go.
Life's what it is.
It is what it is. In this week's episode, we solve a viewer's problem.
Doris will still want to do the crossroad.
And I slotted in there. Excellent. So do we want to have what's the sort of news then this week then, gentlemen? Anything exciting you'd like to? Well, I all say exciting. What have you been doing, basically? Any games or anything you want to do? Who would like to start?
Damien.
Damien, you've been selected to start.
Yeah, well, like I said, the game of choice this week has been the amazing and absolutely, to be fair, stunning looking God of War. The control system, spot on. The gameplay itself, on point. The story, amazing. Granted, haven't finished it yet, but so far, I can't fault it for anything. It's absolutely brilliant. It's one of the best games I've played in a very long time. Big praise to that game.
No, it is a really good game. Have you played it, Tim?
No, I haven't. But I've talked to Damien about it before, because I'm kind of curious about giving it a go myself. But yeah, I don't know much about it. I don't know any of the lore or anything, the story wise behind it. But I'm kind of curious about it because it does look kind of epic and quite beautiful. So I think I could definitely give that a whirl.
No, it's absolutely fantastic. The sense of scale of certain beasts, like the snake in there, you get the feeling it is as big as it is supposed to be on the screen. It is immense. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful game, and it plays amazing. I can't rave about it enough. It's brilliant. Definitely one to add to the Steam library.
Definitely, it is really good, yeah. And I quite liked it's not just about the grand scale and the action, which is absolutely amazing, but also the sort of story and the dynamics I felt between the father and the son. Really good.
I have a smidgen issue with that.
Oh no.
It's just a little complaint, but it is one.
Go on then. As long as there's no spoilers for the people, but yeah.
There needs to be a mute button for the child talking. Just saying.
All right. Just when there's action scenes going on and you're fighting generally, not obviously when they're having dialogue.
Obviously, the dialogue is required, but the rest of the outbursts, I could do without them.
Quiet child.
Well, yeah, it's like, boy. Quiet, boy.
Quiet. Jolly good, jolly good. Oh, no, it's a good game. Tim, do you want to tell us what you're doing? Been doing?
Yeah, well, it's not so much something that I've been doing, but something I was thinking about, because I was thinking about what games, really interest me, and what ones I've played in the past that I could talk about. And initially, I was going to talk about Super Hot VR, which is an amazing game, not to be mistaken with the other Hot VR type game. Um, that's a fundamentally different beast. But then I was thinking, because I got myself all that up and down there. We've got an Oculus Quest down there, so I do enjoy playing the VR stuff. And then I was thinking about a game that is probably still my favorite game to date, which is Shadow of the Colossus, which is just amazing. And it was just because Damien was talking about getting a sense of the scale of things in the game, and that really nails that, where you're sort of walking up to one of these huge monsters that you end up fighting. And also the story, even though the story seems kind of light, it's sort of this weird transition as you play, where you learn that you're not the hero of this world, that you're really the villain, and it's kind of devastating as you play the game. But the reason that I was also thinking about that in conjunction with VR is I'm really looking forward to a new game that should be coming out. I was just quickly having a look to see if there was a release date for it, although I don't yet think there is. But there's a game called Behemoth coming out for VR, and it's basically Shadow of the Colossus VR. And I just think that's going to be really awesome. And I've seen some trailers for it, and they are absolutely amazing. So I'm just hoping that they've nailed the gameplay. I'm really looking forward to that.
No, it sounds good if it's like Shadow of the Colossus, because it is an awesome game. A game I have played recently that I'd love to rave about, if you two have not played it, is called Inside. And it's by the people that did Limbo. And it's a short game as well. That's why I've liked it and played it, because you know me, no time. It was about 4 hours you could play it through, but the story is it's great, because you're like, what is going on with this? And even towards the end, it's so many ways you could take the ending of how it ended and go, what was that experience about? And I really like those sort of games. Again, I don't want to, you should have thought of this. I like this going, what happened there, with loads of different interpretations. So much so that then you have to go on the internet and go, well, what have people concluded from it, and discuss about it. So I'd highly recommend that. It's a very good game. Like I say, it's a nice short game. I like to go for short games for people that don't have time, 100-hour witches, can't do them. But, 4 hours or so, a nice complete little story. That's very good. And it's a bit horror-esque, so a couple of bits were quite scary, which I don't like. But, especially water scenes, forewarning. But, apart from that's good. Has anyone else played Inside?
I have
it?
not.
I haven't, but I have seen it around. It's one that I have looked at a few times on Steam. I was just looking it up now, and immediately, as soon as I saw the artwork, I was like, yeah, I know that one. But yeah, not played it though.
No, it's a lovely art style, like saying it's from the same people who did Limbo, and Limbo was really good.
Is it classed as a platformer?
I don't know. Well, it's a puzzle sort of platform, isn't it? You're going along platforming because you're trying to. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but you're platforming. Yes, platform elements with lots of puzzle elements. And like I say,
it's a side scroller, isn't it?
It's a side scroller in that sense, yeah. So, but it's got lots of puzzles of how you do things. So yeah, highly recommend that. I played that recently, but like I say, not this week. So. Is the Xbox Series X killing the progression of video game consoles at the moment, and new games coming out? Thoughts, gentlemen?
Well,
David.
Yes, me. I'm looking the wrong way. It's that way. Anyway, there is one way of looking at it. It is a nearly next gen console. It has all the right tools, just not in an abundance such as the X or PS5. But it's not as old as, for instance, as the Xbox One or the PS4. So what I personally would say, what held everything back is still the older generation. Well, the generation that came before it, because not everybody could get their hands on a new gen machine. regardless of which plastic box you buy to stick under your TV. If you can't get one, you can't get one. So you're stuck with the generation you're on. And it's that held it back. I don't personally feel... I think it's an easy cop-out to go, it's the Series S that's doing it. And it really isn't. It was those that are still having to hold on to their PS4 or their Xbox One. It's those. And I think the termination date's been set for that generation. So moving forward, it will only be Series S, X, and PS5. So that's my opinion. What about you, Tim?
Well, I know very little about current games consoles, so I was just having a quick glance over the stats to see what the differences were between, say, the S and the X. And
Lump.
I mean, you can see that there's some differences. I mean, you've got a 512 gig SSD as opposed to a 1 terabyte on the X, and the processor is 12 teraflops for the X and 4 teraflops of processing power for the S. One can do 4K, the other one 1440p. But I mean, who really games at 4K anyway? You don't get a drive bay either. But again, you know, I don't have drive bays in my computers anymore. I was thinking about this the other day because I had to. I was thinking about it. I've got this Windows 2000 computer, and I was thinking, how on earth am I going to load the operating system onto this? Because at the moment it's locked with a password, so it was just given to me. And I was thinking, where on earth am I going to find a disk drive to load? Boot up write a disk so that I can do that, because I just don't have them. So why anybody would need it in an Xbox or a PlayStation anymore, I don't know. I guess if you have really slow internet, it's useful to have, but I can't see that it would necessarily slow down your gaming, particularly.
Yeah, a lot of people still prefer to have the physical copies, like a
maybe
showcase.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I could have had I wanted to get the X. Like, you couldn't get them at the time, and I was going to settle for an S, but I did want the X because it can play your old discs and games. So that was me. But yeah, I mean, the digital one, the problem people say is that it's holding back technology, and developers are saying, you know, we don't want to go on the Xbox platform because you have to lower the quality, basically, make it for the S. You know what? Games can't run on it, and it's quite a pain. And that's the game. Microsoft sort of Game Pass sort of ecosystem at the minute has to run on the S. Everything that can run on the X has to also go on the S for people to use. But I just don't get that argument, because they obviously do different ports. A prime example is my son's got my old Xbox One and he wanted to play new Harry Potter. Now, he had to wait a while to get the Legacy, isn't it? Hogwarts Legacy. It was like a few months afterwards, but they managed to port that down to there, and it still plays really well. And everything. So I don't see, with it being yes, they could still release it, but obviously just release a version that's less graphically as good or something, isn't it? Or because we've got all these always online streaming features, which I detest, but obviously because it's you can play most of the games now through the cloud, you think you could do some support with that, couldn't you? Obviously on the S, essentially the X could be all native, but you need the cloud support on the S potentially, which is what they do on the Switch. To get some of those really hefty games, you have to be connected to the internet, isn't it? Like, I think The Witcher 3 is an example, and so forth. There's a few of them, isn't there? And that's probably how they're going to do Call of Duty if this Activision Blizzard deal ever goes through, isn't it? They'll have to do something, essentially stream the damn thing to the Switch. But yeah, it should be good like that.
Well, I think where Microsoft, or I should say Xbox, is going to be is eventually, I don't think you're going to end up with a console. It will just be the service that you pay for. Xbox will be nothing other than a service.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's Samsung that struck a deal with to put Xbox Live, Game Pass onto the TVs. So it literally is it's just a streaming media connection with a controller. I've tried it. I was part of the xCloud system when they first started rolling it out, so I was one of the beta testers on that. And back then, when it was in its infancy, it was good. It was It wasn't great over 4G,
No.
but if you connected it to Wi-Fi, it was absolutely amazing. I could stick whatever disc I wanted in my Xbox at home and go anywhere and play that using my phone. It was really good. And then it was a case of how do I hold the mobile phone and the actual controller so I could. So back then when it was coming out, it was a bit of a tricky thing, and then the little brackets for the controllers came out so you could clip them all together and play it. But it was good then. And now they're using more power and performance of some of the data centers that they've got, and they are massive. That are literally just available for you to connect to stream whatever game. And it's obviously, it then comes down to your internet connection for if you get any slight deviation or pixelation but there's no reason
also
why.
the distance you are from their server farm.
Yeah.
Because that'll add latency. The further you are, the worse it'll be.
But I'll be honest with you, with what I played, it's on some games it is noticeable in places, but in the large scale, not really. So in essence, like you said, they could eventually go, well, because you bought the S to be in our ecosystem to play whatever game that needs the X power, you will have to stream it or even go like they were doing, where you literally put the game in, and whichever console you were playing on, it downloaded the extra to make it the best version available. So you could have your Hogwarts, but like the stripped down version. And then if you've got any of the others, use the, update them with however many gigabytes, hundreds of gigabytes it is to put the high definition textures on or additional bits in that you need for that.
I mean, they're starting, which I really detest as well, because I'm a console gamer, not PC, is now you're starting to tweak and have performance modes and all these other modes like you used to if you're a PC gamer, aren't you? You have to tweak them. And obviously, if your system or your rig can't take the latest game at the moment, you can still play it, usually, isn't it? The minimum requirements, obviously, it'll be graphically or you'll have some latency or something, but you'll still be able to play it. And the same should apply in this scenario, really, shouldn't it? So, yes, it might get the rubbishest version or the not the best version, but obviously default it to that. And then obviously, if you're on an X, you can get the better version, isn't it? But you can still play it and still be good. So, yeah, it's one of them. I don't know, like I say, there's quite a lot at the moment, like industry people saying, oh, we're not going to make it. I think it's because they probably have to make the two versions, but there must be a simpler, quicker way, like I say, obviously just give them the lowest settings and it will run on the S like you would on a PC, the minimum requirements. Make your game for that and then make it all lovely for the X, because like I say, no one plays it in 4K really. Well, very few people do. And this
if
whole
you do,
argument,
leave a comment.
if you do, who are you? You're the one person. And it's these 60 frames per second do my head in as well at the minute, isn't it? That people say, oh, the game's terrible just because it can't run at that, that's another complete argument as well, isn't it? But like, if it can't do it, but half people at the moment don't play it at 60. I don't play my games at 60 frames per second. So
I'll be honest. I'm a PC gamer, and 60 frames a second is bad. That should be the bare minimum.
It is.
Of what we need
60
to do
FPS is the minimum. I mean, I don't know what your monitor's like. I mean, mine's 144 hertz.
It's not quite that good.
Yeah, but even then, there's still an argument to be made for running a higher number of frames per second than even your monitor can handle. Because especially for things like competitive gaming, CS:GO, that kind of stuff, a lot of people swear by having a higher frame rate than their monitor is able to do, because you actually get to be able to see things that you wouldn't otherwise normally be able to see. So there's still an argument for it.
But I suppose console versions, it's an equal platform. There's no, like with PC gaming, there are hundreds of thousands of different combinations you could possibly have. If you have a console, you have console. It's that particular version. There's no real change between system to system. However, Microsoft have actually put in a small stopgap, and that is going to create, I want to say, a class issue, because you'll have the S that's got less performance, whereas the X PS5 a lot higher performance. But with an Series S, you can get into this current generation or the new generation that level. So it's better than the previous, but it's not quite good as top range. So they've added a tier system in now, and I think that in the future could be a mistake.
I mean, it's a sensible idea because I've sold loads, like I say, to get them in, and it's to get people in cheap, isn't it? And get them into the Game Pass ecosystem. But quite a lot of people nowadays obviously play all these online only games, isn't it? Like your Fortnite or your Destinies or your Call of Duties, aren't they? You know, that aren't played natively. You have to do it online. So if people are used to that anyway, it's not really a problem in that sense because like I say, they could use some of the new cloud technology, isn't it, to obviously beef up that S, like you were saying, to make it worse. So my conclusion is no. I don't think it's holding back you making really good games. If anything, like I say, you had the different generations before, but you know, when it was new one coming along, you could have something still on the Master System and then on the Mega Drive, isn't it? Less power. And you still had two different versions of the same game. It's just one was graphically less and didn't sound as good because it was a system. So you can still do the same sort of thing. People can still play the same game in that sense. And I think people will understand that on the S, it might not look as nice, but you know, you still get to play it. And it's the gameplay that's ultimately important.
It is.
It is. So this week, I've been going mobile and looking at some classic retro handhelds. The late 80s saw the advent of a handheld market. You had handhelds before that, but these had very basic one games on each device. But that all changed with the arrival of a Game Boy. Rival systems started to appear in the shape of Sega's Game Gear, which boasted full colours but literally no battery life. The Atari Lynx that was 16-bit but a bit naff compared to Sega and Nintendo's offering. Nintendo kept pumping out the updated handhelds with different versions of the Game Boy before moving on to the DS models, and PlayStation entered the market to try and take on the mighty Nintendo with some handhelds of their own. Nowadays we have an abundance of handheld devices that emulate retro games or play modern games on the go. But what's the best retro handhelds to get nowadays to play some of those classic games from the 80s and 90s, say, that we all enjoyed on our home consoles but want to play in the palm of our hands now? I've got 3 suggestions for you that I might do the trick. First up is the Evercade by Blaze. There's a couple of handheld versions of this. I've got the first edition, but I have released a new version, the Evercade EXP at the moment, which can have some downloadable games on it, I believe. Also, you can get a console version to play at home, so you can play the cartridges on the go or on your console version at home, which is quite handy as well. Each game comes in a box with a booklet, which is hard to find nowadays in most cartridges, but we had back in the day, and it has lovely colourful, tells you all about the games, and especially on some of the cartridges, the games that you might not know, it's really good to read about them and find about some of the history and why it's on the compilation. There's some brilliant collections on here, all from your old system. So you've got some C64 collection if you like your C64s. You've got collections from Team 17 that made classics such as Alien Breed. You've got your Atari collections with some of your classic Atari games on there. You've got your Namco collections with like your Pac-Man and other classics on there. You've got collections like Interplay, which have your Earthworm Jim on it. And on these cartridges, you usually get about 6 to 8 games or so. There's quite a few games on there. C64 one has about 20 odd games on there. And some of them are really expensive, especially on the games. Like the Interplay one, which has Earthworm Jim on, which is worth just buying for the price of $17.99 anyway for the cartridge. Also has a game on there called Incantation, which is a really fun platformer, but it's also like 300 odd pounds if you just want to buy the cartridge, if not more. So it's examples of that on all these little collections that, you know, some of them could cost you £900 if you bought separately, these games, but you get them all on a little cartridge with a nice little booklet and everything. And they've got some brilliant collections there. It's definitely, if you're a retro enthusiast and you like the nostalgia of having a cartridge and a case and everything, these collections are for you from the Evercade. So the next one is a Nintendo 3DS, and some people are going, well, why didn't you go for your Game Boy or your Game Boy Advance? Well, there's a few reasons there. The Nintendo 3DS is a fairly new system. It's just the last gen, really, isn't it? It's been overdone by the Nintendo Switch. So you can actually get quite a lot of recent games on there, which is quite cool as well. So you can play, or fairly recent games as well. But it's also got a huge back catalogue of Nintendo DS games to play as well in there. So just as a retro thing there, that's brilliant. You've got your classic games on there as well, like your Zeldas. They've done the remastered Zelda Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask, and all Link Between Worlds, things like that. But some of the retro compilations you can get on there, you can get the Ultimate NES Remix, which is 30 odd NES games. They've remixed them in different ways. You can do different challenges, but you've got the classic games on there as well for you to play. So you've got your NES games on there. Also, you've got the Sega 3D Classics collection. Again, they've remastered some of them, but you've got your Altered Beast, your Sonic the Hedgehog, and some other classic Sega games on there that you want to play. Plus the brilliance, obviously, of a Nintendo 3DS is you've got the whole library of a Nintendo DS games on there as well, and they had some classic compilations on there. So you've got your Konami Classic Series arcade hits, you've got the Namco Museum with all your Namco games on, you've got Atari Classics on there that you could play a whole compilation of them, and also you've got your Sonic Classic collections with all the Sonic Mega Drive Sonic games on there, which are amazing to play as well. As well as obviously you've got your Mario 64 DS, which was a slightly different variation, but your Mario 64, you've got your Final Fantasy somewhere mixed in there, you've got your Mario Kart, and you've got other classics, now classic Zelda games off the DS, like the Phantom Hourglass and some other ones you couldn't get anywhere else. So it's well worth getting a Nintendo 3DS for this, because there's such a breadth with the DS market on there, and DS games also being retro nowadays, for you to play some of those classic arcade games as well. For my final choice, I've gone for Sony's PSP. And people might be going, well, first of all, why have you not gone for the Vita? Because it's a better system, more modern system. But the problem with that, because the game store is shut on it, you can't download any retro sort of games on there anymore. So you're relying on getting the cartridges, and they've gone through the roof for starters, those sort of games. They're like £30-40 for the cheapest game, pretty much, for a Vita. So they're really sought after. Plus, they don't really have the retro compilations that I'm on about here. So we've gone back to the PSP. And the PSP is brilliant for retro compilations as well. You've got your Activision Hits Remastered, which has your Atari collections on. You've got another Atari Classics collections on there. You've got Capcom collections. You've got two of them. You've got them reloaded and remixed, which has loads of your classic Street Fighters and Strider, all those sort of classic Capcom games on there. You've got EA Replay, which has loads of your Mega Drive games on there. But you've got your Road Rash, your Desert Strikes, your Syndicate, all brilliant classics, and Wing Commander, and then Midway Arcade Treasures Extended Play, loads of Midway classic arcade games on there that you want. You've got Namco Museum as well, and of course you've got the mighty Sega Mega Drive collection on there as well, which has 20 classic Mega Drive games. But the brilliance of the PSP though is it is a retro console now, and it's sort of in your PlayStation 2 era, so you've got sort of games linked to classic PlayStation 2 games, like you've got your Daxter, which was a spin-off from the Jak and Daxter series. You've got a Jak and Daxter game on its own. You've got your Tomb Raiders on there. You've got your Tomb Raider Anniversary and your Tomb Raider Legends you can play in there. You've got Final Fantasy games if you want to play them as well. You've got a Metal Gear Solid game. You've got a Siphon Filter game. You've got Little Big Planet, which was absolutely classic PlayStation 1 as well from the PS3 era. You've got that on there. And so many more just classic Sony games on there, but in portable fashion that you want to play along with as well. Now here's 3 examples for you to play. I have all 3 of them, and my personal favourite is the PSP currently. But obviously I like going back to Nintendo because I like my Marios on there and my Zelda games. So each have their own. I like the Evercade, that's why I got it, so I can play some of them, especially the Atari Lynx games. And it's brilliant with the Evercade finding out some of these classic consoles that I've played, like the Atari Lynx, finding out about those games. But also some of the old Mega Drive games that you just didn't come across, I really enjoy finding out about. So they're all really cool options, I think, for you. And they're fairly affordable out there to get. It's usually about £100 for a console, and then each sort of one's about, worst case, £20 for a cartridge for the Evercade. You're looking about anywhere between £5 to £20 for your sort of DS games. Your 3DS games are a bit more expensive, around £20 mark. And same with your PSP, you can get some for a £5, but some of them might be £10. The worst case is about £20-25 on average for sort of some of these compilations. If you enjoy playing those retro games at home, why not pick one of these consoles up so you can get a little bit of retro fix on the go?
The Evercade. Is it actually any good?
Well, I think it's very good. That's why I got one. I think the Evercade fills the market of, like, say you had these other systems like your C64, and some of your classic arcade games in it that you can't get on the other consoles like the Nintendo and the Sony ones. So it sort of fills them. And the whole thing of the Evercade, it's more about not being digital games. It's more about the retros love to get a little booklet, and the actual cartridge in there. So that's the sort of thing going on with that one. Because some of these games, it also does like indie games. You can get indie cartridges, which obviously you can download on your console or your PC and everything. So it's quite good, yeah. I mean, compared to, like, say, the other retro compilations, you sort of get your Namco, your Capcom on the others. This one does some other ones, like I say, and it's got your Lynx on there. I mean, the reason I got one as well is I wanted to get an Atari Lynx, which is really expensive. I never had one before. And I thought, actually, because the Evercade, because all the things it offers, but it also has 2 compilations of like Lynx, Atari Lynx on there. And I've got one of them. So that's quite cool to experience it rather than having to go out and buy the actual hardware. And it's something stupid like 30-40 pounds a game now, isn't it, on Lynx, because they're quite hard to come by. So that's a quicker entry way to sort of experience that. I think there's about 20 on the cart. The cartridge is like $14.99.
Could you imagine buying all of those games just to play them on the physical? You'd have to buy a safe and put them in there.
Well, no. I know. Well, this is what crazy retro people do. They buy it, don't they, and put it all on their shelves and then advertise it on YouTube. We're going to go to that house and nick it all. But yeah, so yeah, I think the Evercade, it's a good option. That's why I sort of include it as one of the top 3. Yeah. So, I mean, one of the good things as well about, and I've done to my Sony PSP, is obviously you can play emulation on it as well. So they're really handy. And like I sort of mentioned, actually, I think in the past video, I've been playing sort of things like the Game Boy Advance on there. Even games I own, I'd play on there because the screen's better than actually your old Game Boy Advance. You know what I mean? And obviously advantage because, I can't play for long. I can pause it at any point, can't you? A save state, and off you go and come back and jump back in. But it's quite handy for that. And you can do that on the 3DS as well. It's a bit more tricky, and it depends on the model, how to sort of like get emulation software on there. But if you have the ROMs already, legally and all that malark, yeah, you can have that in your palm of your hand and play some of your Mega Drive or SNES games on as well. So that's quite cool, in my opinion, as well.
So, as a final question for you,
go on then.
You're going on a desert island,
and
you can only take one of those handhelds with you. Which one would you pick?
Well, me, I would probably take. It depends how many games you can take with you, but I would probably even take the PSP still, because there's more quality. A Sony sort of games, I like them. The thing with the PSP that I sort of liked as well is, like, say, all those games that you got on the PS2 at the same time. Some of them were ports, but like you had your Jack and Daxter, which was awesome, and then they did a little PSP game of Daxter, and they sort of did little side games to all these like PS2 games, which were quite cool. But yeah, you got your Tomb Raider on there and everything. I mean, the only sad thing about it, why I had the PSP originally, I downloaded loads of PS1 games through the store, but now the store's closed and you can't get all that down, so that's a bit of a shame. But yeah, PSP. What about you then, Damien? Same question on that desert island.
See, I was rather partial to the Game Gear.
Oh, it is good. You'd have no batteries.
There wouldn't be enough. There wouldn't be enough available. However,
assuming the island was made out of batteries.
Yeah, it seems that. I mean, we'd all need batteries, to be fair, on these desert islands, but you'd need them sooner than us.
I would be going through 6 at a time, every hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah,
but I am the Evercade. I think would be the one I took.
Yeah,
just simply because the choices that I could have of the retro emulator of the retro games, because you get several on one cartridge, don't you?
Yeah.
So I could take more cartridges than you and have more games.
You could do, but then again, I'd counter that on the PSP, if I took like the Capcom collection, which has 20 on, or just the Mega Drive collection, which I did have. It's like there's 20 odd classic Mega Drives on there. Your Streets of Rage, your Sonic. I mean, what more could you want in life?
Streets of Rage and a couple of hours of Sonic. Beautiful.
Sonic. Beautiful. It's just, that's it, isn't it? Any thoughts on this, Tim?
Well, I was trying to think what I would say. I mean, I think I only really officially owned a Game Gear as a kid. So I'm inclined to say Game Gear again, but I'm trying to think what else I had. Because I don't think I ever really bought anything else for myself in that regard, but I definitely had access to, for some time, a Game Boy Advanced and maybe a Game Boy Color. Which one of the Game Boys was it with the clamshell thing going on? Was that the Color or
advanced,
the Advance? Was that
the
the
advanced.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely had access to one of those, and I think I had access to a Game Boy Color. I do have fond memories of a friend of mine and I playing Pokemon on Game Boy, and him having the red version and I had the blue version. You had to have the link cable between the two Game Boys so that you could trade your Pokemon back and forth.
Yeah.
But obviously, I was very young at the time. I don't know that I would want to play Pokemon now, but I seem to remember having a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah. That's good. Yeah. I've sort of missed Pokemon, me. I never did it. So if I didn't do it at the time, I have no nostalgia for it now, but it sounds like a lot of hard work and time that I don't have. So
Yeah.
Pokemon. Oh, what I really enjoyed though, I found a classic game when I've been messing with his handheld while doing this video here. And it's such a good game. You wouldn't believe it. I thought he just did cookery books, but Jamie Oliver has also released a DS game through Atari. I mean, it's brilliant. If you want to learn to cook and make some good meals here, you can get your DS out, obviously, and it will take you step by step how to do these meals. There's lots of fun games in there as well, cooking games, chopping stuff and sorting it all out, making stuff. It's a cracking game. I highly recommend it. I mean, I don't know why we don't hear about it. I didn't even know it existed until I started looking and it popped up, because it's such a quality game. And you know what I'm going to do, because I know Connor really loved the DS as well. It's one of his favorite consoles, and I know how much he loves Jamie Oliver. We all do. So I'm going to send this over to him, and see what he thinks of it.
Crispy Bits has been wonderful enough to give me Jamie Oliver to review. So we're going to try and review this the best way possible. Now, unfortunately, I am not in possession of a Nintendo 3DS. So we're going to do this utilizing every scientific and technical means necessary to make sure this game gets reviewed the way Jamie Oliver should be reviewed. So, on today's means of playing this video game, we have our first attempt. Kind of feel like I can maybe slot it in there. I don't know. We're making some headway. Alright, let's try something else. Forgot it's broken. Never mind. The chainsaw's out. Ooh, what about you? You might do. One second. Should have brought a clamp. No, you know what? It's just not working. This'll do. Alright, so something. Check it. Always remember to wear your safety gear. Yeah, that'll do. That'll do. That'll do nicely. So yeah, this is my review, Jamie Oliver. What's cooking? I think it might be him, but you know.
He'll love that. It's a gem.
He'll be beside himself.
He will.
He will show pure emotion.
He will. We're such nice people. Such good friends, I feel. Yeah,
absolutely.
All of the emotions, both of them.
So we're back to that time of the show where we help some viewers with one of their problems. And this week, do you know what? We've had a couple of very emotional ones. I feel this one's not too emotional. It's just a general problem we can help with. So I might even do some nice uplifting music when we go with it. Well, it's not uplifting as a problem, but you know, just not as hard going, isn't it? And here's this week's question. Just slot it in there, guys. My parents are going out of town for a week soon and trusted me with looking after the country house. However, I feel I should invite my friends around to have a party and have started sending out invites already. I've been very conservative with my own money and managed to aim for donations of alcohol from those coming to the party. I plan to make sure that even my neighbours don't find out about the party to inform my parents, by making sure all the windows will be shut with the locks down when the party is on. The security cameras will be off, and I'll make sure no footage is put on social media by my friends. I've thought of everything to have a great time with my friends without people knowing that might feel cross at breaking the trust given to me by having a secret party at this quintessential English venue I live at. However, I am feeling bad as I've just started a new job delivering newspapers to people, and I feel I won't be able to do this job the day after the party as I'll be totally faced still. So my question to you is, should I pull a sickie after the party or pay my way out of a problem by getting someone else to do the work for me? Signed, Brushhead. So what do we think, guys? What do we think? So the question is, should he pull a sickie or should he actually get his work done by paying someone else to do it?
Tough decision.
I mean, ethically, none of them are good, to be fair, really. And it doesn't sound... But that's the question. That's the decision we're trying to sort out this time.
Subcontract or sickie?
Subcontract or sickie. So he pulls a sickie. Yeah. Or no one knows better because he paid someone off, really. Tim, what are you thinking?
Well, I'm just going to be decisive about it. Let's say pull a sickie. That's the simple one, and it is perhaps not quite as ethically not quite such an ethically grey area as having somebody else do it for you.
Yeah, but if you get somebody else to do it for you that you can rely on, at least the papers will get delivered, whereas they won't if he doesn't turn up.
Yeah, and what about all those people that won't get their news? Because everybody still reads newspapers.
Doris will still want to do the crossword.
Oh, that's true.
But maybe
no one
it'll
ever
save
thinks
some
about Doris
trees
in these scenarios, do they? God. Yeah, I'd pretty much say, well, I don't know. We'll have a decide in a minute. But to do this week's games challenge is me, because I haven't done one yet. So we're going to pass it over to Damien, I believe, who's organising this challenge.
Yes, you'll like this. So for this episode, the game is going to be the 1982 release arcade classic Dig Dug. Developed by Namco, this is a strategic digging game, and it was a global hit. It's had covers of the game ported on various platforms, from the Atari 2600 in 1983 right the way through to the Xbox 360 in 2006. It's simple rules of the game is basically defeat the demons that are on the screen and complete the game. However, that's not going to happen with this one. What we're going to do is we're going to use the achievement hunting rule for you, Chris. Okay. So basically, what you have to do on level 1, dig out all of the dirt, and that's it. But you only have 3 lives.
So I don't have to kill anything. Well, I can't kill everything because that ends the level. So
yeah. So basically, you have the 3 lives to remove all the possible available dirt in the game.
Right.
On level 1.
Yep.
And you will automatically forfeit the challenge if you defeat all of the beasts.
Well.
So, with that in mind,
yeah,
what's running through yours?
Well, I'm rubbish at the game anyway. I have played it at least, but that's why I'm already like, that's a pretty bad challenge, isn't it? I mean, you know, I gave you a nice easy challenge with Sonic 2.
With 30 seconds.
Yeah.
All I'm saying, I'm giving you 3 lives, and as long as it takes you to do it within those 3 lives.
All right, well, we'll try. I'm all game anyway. That's the whole idea, and we've got to solve this problem. So I'll give it a crack. not feeling too confident yet. Brilliant. Okay, so what do I think then? Should the person pull the sickie? Should Brushhead pull the sickie or pay someone to get out for work? I think he should pull the sickie because then actually I hope he gets found out because he doesn't sound a nice person. Really. Sorry, Brushhead, but you know. So that's it. That's what I want to happen. But actually, if I don't win the game, then he'll pay someone to do it. So should I actually, knowing that I'm probably going to be rubbish at this game, swap my answers? So then he has to pull the sickie.
Ooh.
No, we'll do it the proper way. Okay, I want him to pull sickie, and then we'll try and win the game. I will try because then everyone will go, "Oh, you threw it away." Which I didn't. Lovely, brilliant. So let's get this set up.
Hi YouTube, I'm Chris's PC in charge of recording and editing the Slot It In There videos. Unfortunately, I recently had an off day when recording the gaming section of this episode and corrupted all the data, so we had to re-record it on another day. This means the guys may look a bit different to the rest of the videos so far. I apologise for this error and I've been disciplined.
You stay in that corner and think about what you've done, and don't come out till you're ready to apologise.
And promise to do better when recording and editing future Slot It In There videos. Who are you?
I'm your replacement for the slotted in editing job.
We have what we have.
Come on.
Here we go.
Here
Let's
we go.
do
Right.
this. Come on.
Let's get up to the top. I don't know how you get those little bits, Dave. That's it. Oh, God.
Well, you have to just sort of go up and down, sort of
Up and
zigzagging
down.
across them, maybe.
So if you go down again.
You might want to be careful there.
Oh, well, forget this. System's gone to pot. Let's go.
He's got a system.
I had a system.
Let's see if it's
Got a
working.
better
All
system
the way
now.
around. Let's go all the way around the edge. Because then I've got a runway, haven't I, to get round. And let's go
Yeah,
across the
you
middle.
could always outrun them by hitting that then.
Oh, he didn't look happy. Right.
That was a risky move.
Bold.
Oh.
Oh, very nice.
I planned that, honestly. That was good.
He's got rid of the troublesome one.
Oh,
No!
you know,
no!
I was too busy doing lines to pay. Oh, I don't have to start from the start. Good, right.
No.
Gonna risk it.
Oh! Controversial
brave.
move there.
It's fine. Look at this. Oh, that's gonna fall on my head.
Yeah.
Oh dear. No, I can't.
Just gotta
kill
make sure you don't-
anymore.
You can't get rid of any more of those.
Right, so I'll have to leave that one. We'll have to come back to that row, won't we?
Keep going up. Keep going up. There we go. Go on.
Run, little man. Looks like a smurf.
Oh, I wanted to go down.
Like me when it's cold. A rot row. You're gonna have to cross the paths. Ooh.
Don't cross the streams.
Keep going up.
Right, here we go.
New point of entry. I believe in you, Chris. You've got this.
But what about those other lines?
You've got to go through them all.
Jesus.
There's only...
Oh, Jesus, that
Ooh.
went wrong.
Ooh.
Oh.
Keep going.
Oh,
Keep
God.
going. Run, Forest.
The music.
Forest.
I can't go
He's
quick
gaining
enough.
on you.
No!
He's gaining on you.
No.
Is there a boost button when that happens?
They do get a slight increase in speed after a certain amount of time.
Oh, that was bold.
It's alright. He's got plenty of skills. He's got the moves.
Ooh,
Oh, come on.
oh, you need to get off that line.
Oh,
No, ooh.
One
Right.
done.
We're on it.
You need as much distance as you can now.
Oh, God. Let's get that rock now.
The problem is that they take that inside line, isn't it? They catch up with you.
The more you dig away, the better it is for them to get from one end to the other to get to you. That was a good move. Very good move.
That's nice.
Although he's going to have to go back on himself.
Oh, how did you get away with that?
Skills. Add skills.
2 sections at the very
Ooh.
top to get rid of left. What's going to happen now? Oh, nice. He's nearly there.
Oh, music. Oh.
No!
Oh!
No!
Then there has to be a beep there as well.
There will be, won't there? Gaming. God damn it. God damn it.
Game over.
Game over. Doing so well then.
Ruh-roh.
Never mind.
He
Never
was,
mind.
he was almost there.
Almost there. Nearly did it. Nearly did it. It was a very hard challenge, though. I felt, Damien. Very hard.
It's very, very hard challenge. It's one of the achievement challenges for the actual game that released in 2006 on the Xbox 360. So it wasn't easy back then. It's definitely still not easy now.
No. But I think
Good effort.
I did quite well. I
It was
felt.
a very good effort.
It's just when they
Yeah,
speed up.
there was a few close calls there where you were like
That's cool.
pixels away from death. But
You know,
yeah, I've got to salute you. That was a very good effort.
it was a good effort. We got there in the end. But basically, so what was that decided? I wanted to basically pull a sickie, but he's not going to now. He's basically going to pay someone to deliver his papers. Doris will get her papers. No one will know. I hope he gets found out because it's a horrible thing to do, Mr. Brushhead. But there you go. We've decided something. Hooray for games, as always. Yeah.
Is there any better way to settle something than this?
No.
There isn't.
That's why we do it. It's a service.
It's the only decisive way of deciding anything.
And there we are. We're at the end of another exciting episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Tim, did you enjoy it?
Loved it every minute.
Damien?
I just find this to be the most epic part of my entire week. It's
Well,
beautiful.
that's good then. That's good. And hopefully it's the viewers' epic time of their week because they keep enjoying it and coming back. Don't forget, as always, to do all the exciting things on YouTube that I'm terrible at remembering, like thumbs up, write comments. We asked you a few times in it. Actually, write some comments and then we'll respond to you. And you never know, we might do something in the future in an episode.
And tickle the bell. Tickle the bell.
I always forget
Tickle
about the
the
damn
bell.
bell. Tickle the bell, yes. To
Ring a
remind
ding
you
ding.
when we go live. But hopefully it's now every week at some certain point that we might define in the future once we've filmed all the episodes.
And then decide to release them.
And then decide to release them. We're never releasing them. Someone's going to find these in 20 years' time going, there's some weird stuff on this hard drive. These guys just talking. It's quite a good program. They should have released it. But there you go. On that blue screen of death, it's a goodbye from me.
Goodbye from me.
And see you later from me.
The end.